is being submissive in the bedroom a setback for feminism. You bitches are never gonna get me there. I actually don't care. I think we should be bleeding weird men dry. I think they should be broke. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend. Hot question over here. Hi guys, I am in the middle of packing up my life to go to Greece with 24 of you guys. I leave tomorrow. I am not even close to done yet. And yet, I still can't think of a better time to sit down and do another little girl talk Q&A with you guys. Am I procrastinating? Maybe. Can't confirm or deny that, but I'll get someone to look into it. Not me, though. I'm busy. So listen, the packing will get done simply because it has to get done. So I feel comfortable diving into a bunch of questions that you guys left me over on my Instagram at Maddie Dragsbaek, requests for advice, any other inquiries you may have. The packing comes later. This is where we are right now. What to do during a very bad date you can't cut short. I mean, I don't really think there's a such thing as a bad date you can't cut short. You can. You are allowed to leave anywhere you do not want to be, anywhere you do not feel comfortable. You're not required to stay just to satisfy someone else's ego. And you don't have to be blunt and honest about why you're leaving the date early. You can totally make up an excuse. Point being, you definitely don't have to stay on dates that you're not enjoying. I mean, you know, it's one thing to be going on a date where maybe you don't see a romantic connection, but you're still enjoying the conversation and or enjoying yourself on the date. To go on a bad date where you don't even like them as a person, you don't have to stay on that date. Hey, actually, you can just leave. You don't have to stay. I was thinking about this the other day, talking about it on the Patreon, I believe. But I was talking about how I think that women need to get more comfortable being perceived as harsh or being perceived as a bitch. I know obviously there are situations where you might be nice to someone because you're afraid of how they might react to your honest reaction. Putting those instances aside, looking strictly at the moments in your life where you may have been overly accommodating to someone, overly nice to someone, overly generous to someone, rather than sharing your true opinion because you were like, oh, maybe I'm being harsh, maybe I'm being too mean, maybe I'm being a bitch, maybe they were just nervous, maybe they were having a bad day. I think that women are more frequently inclined to give people the benefit of the doubt and be like overly accommodating to them when they are being a fucking weirdo. And I think that we should get comfortable being harsher with people, letting people perceive us as a bitch if they want to perceive us as a bitch, but it's not even really being bitchy, it's just being honest. If someone is being and saying truly off-putting and bizarre things on a date, I think that you should feel comfortable giving them the reaction that they're ordering. All of a sudden they're telling you all about their ex-girlfriend. They're kind of saying strange things about her that make you raise an eyebrow, where you're like, that's a really weird thing to say on a second date, talking shit about your ex-girlfriend to me, a woman that you're trying to date that doesn't really know anything about that. And that's weird. I don't want to listen to someone I'm dating talk shit about their ex-girlfriend on a second date. That's really bizarre. And I think sometimes the gut reaction there is to be like, maybe he was just having a bad day. Maybe he was feeling really sad. Maybe something happened to him. Maybe there was a worm in there. I don't know. And you look for reasons why someone may be acting super strange and bizarre. You're allowed to just react to someone being a little weird on a date. And if it turns out they really were just having an off moment where they were behaving inappropriately and something emotional was going on in their day, like, they can tell you that later on. They can explain the behavior later on, but in the moment, you are actually not required to sit there and just be like, oh, okay, if someone is deeply off-putting and uncomfortable to be around to you. I don't know. Sometimes I just think that dating has become too passive. Everything's all about balance, right? There's a time and place to make your harsher opinions known. There's also like a certain level of giving people grace and being generous that is just a baseline part of being a good person. But I do think that there are many situations where women are not required to be kind or overly accommodating. but we are anyways. So if you're on a really bad date, I don't think that you need to feel obligated to stay on that date just to stroke somebody else's ego. Like, you are allowed to leave a date if you don't want to be there. If you're uncomfortable, if you're not having fun, if you don't think it's a match, you are allowed to say, hey, I've got to go. We need to get a little bit better being a little bit harsher and bitchier sometimes. Delivering people our raw reaction rather than constantly filtering our reactions to be more palatable and I don't know, just stroking men's egos because we've been taught to, rather than reacting to them appropriately when they behave weird. That's my take. How do you heat style your hair without ruining your color? Heat protectant is so important. And I recorded myself doing my hair this morning to sort of show you step by step what it is that I actually do. So I showered, I let it air dry for a little bit. This is still pretty damp. And now I'm gonna go in with one of my favorite hair products right now, which is the IGK Good Behavior Smoothing Spray, which is the sponsor of today's video. What this is it's basically a heat activated anti-frizz spray that provides both frizz control and heat protection up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, which is so important to me in general, but especially because I have a full head of bleached and purple dyed hair. Like, look at this difference. Blow dried using the smoothing spray, not blow dried using the smoothing spray. Step 1, you just have to start with damp or dry hair. Step 2, you'll section your hair and spray the Good Behavior Smoothing Spray evenly from root to tip. And then you just blow dry or heat style to activate. It's inspired by keratin treatments to deliver the smooth, sleek look without all of the extra chemicals. It's lightweight, non-greasy. It works on all hair types to block humidity, which is crucial this kind of year. And of course, I'm using it so it is color safe. So if you're interested in trying out this smoothing spray for yourself, you can scan the QR code on screen and use code Maddie for 25% off your order at IGK Hair. If one of your friends was cheating on their partner, would you tell the partner? If it got to that point, I would, but I hope that it never would get to that point, because if my friend comes to me and tells me that they have cheated on their partner, they are my friend. So they are my obligation. My loyalty is to them. And because my loyalty is to them, I want to push them to step into their best self, take responsibility for their actions, and tell their partner themselves. If my friend is coming to me and telling me, oh my God, I made like such a crucial fucking mistake, I cheated on my partner, what do? The first thing out of my mouth is always going to be, okay, well, you have to tell them. You have to tell them. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how to have this conversation, and we can, I can be here for you. I can be your friend. I'm never going to lie to you. I will be honest with you in that I think that is a terrible, nasty thing to do to someone. It is a massive mistake. And also, you're my friend and I love you. And I'm going to be here for you in processing that and learning how to own and like accept the consequences of your actions. But like, if you take that action, you have to follow through and making sure your consequence gets delivered. You have to talk to your partner. You have to tell them, and maybe you guys can work through it, and that's awesome. And maybe you can't work through it. Maybe they don't want to be with someone who cheats on them. Can't fucking blame them. At the end of it all, I'll still be your friend, and I will be here to help you work through that and like push through towards becoming a better version of yourself. So if it got to that, if I was friends with someone who cheated on a partner, told me, and had no desire to come clean about that, I would tell their partner. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't remain friends with that person. I can accept that people in my life aren't perfect, or that sometimes they may do bad things in this lifetime, but to not have remorse or regret or guilt and want to do everything in their power to sort of relieve the pain of the other person, or, just like own up to what they've done, to not have that part of it would be the thing that's a deal breaker to me. So it's like, yeah, if it got to that point, I would tell the partner, but if it is getting to that point, they're not my friend anymore. Because any friend of mine is someone that can face themselves when they have done wrong. And if you can't then you're not a friend of mine. Just puts me off of a person. I think that's wrong. If you're able to do someone that you supposedly love so dirty, that's already so terrible, but then to take it another level and be like, and I'm never going to come clean about it to protect your own selfish interests and ego. Meanwhile, this person is stuck in a relationship with someone who would treat them like that and they don't know. Like, that is crazy to me. You can be a good person who does a bad thing, but you have to confront that shit completely, own it, and work through it honestly with your partner, or else I think that you are just a bad person who did a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be a good person who did a bad thing, you've gotta like show up on the good person side of it and take ownership of what you've done. And I don't want to be friends with someone who can't take ownership of the bad things that they have done. Why do you live in New York? Do you think about living somewhere else sometimes? Honestly, no. Hey, love your question. No, I don't. I love New York so much. This is the best place in the world to me. I've traveled around a bunch. Every time I go somewhere new, I'm like, this place is awesome, but I know somewhere better. And it's always New York. Like, at the end of every vacation, every trip I've ever taken, getting to come home to New York is always the most exciting part of the trip for me. I love it here. I love this city. I love the people in this city. I love how culturally diverse this place is. I think it's just like, I mean, it's crazy to live somewhere where every country in the world is represented. On top of the fact that I just like the culture of the city itself, the energy of New Yorkers. And you know, it's funny because I feel like a lot of the time tourists will come to New York and be like, oh, like New Yorkers are so mean. And I've never understood that or agreed with it at all. I think that truly something that feels so integral to New York, to living in the city, is like how involved people are with their neighbors and how much people care about the strangers sitting next to them on the train or walking next to them on the street. Like, I can agree it's a different kind of kindness. I think it's one that's more rooted in like protectiveness and mutual respect rather than like being overly friendly. But in the 10 years that I've lived here, which that's crazy that I've lived here for 10 years this summer, August is my official 10 years of living in New York. In the 10 years that I've lived here, I feel like I've just witnessed a whole lot of neighbors being fiercely protective of one another. I get why maybe it's perceived harsher by people who aren't familiar with like the energy of New York, but to live here for 10 years, I'm telling you, the people that live here are some of the nicest people, kindest people, most generous people that I have ever met in my life. And when I think about the rest of my life, I hope and pray that I get to spend it here. How do I navigate making new friendships and knowing when to release fruitless ones? Someone else said, but also, how do you find your people? Have you had to make friends as an adult? This is a question that I get all the time. Anytime I do a Q&A like this or over on the podcast, definitely gets popped up in the box all the time over there as well. I have had to make plenty of friends as an adult. Actually, when I look around at my community in New York, most of my friends are people that I have met in the last 5 years, post-COVID. Isn't that crazy? I was talking to Ashley about this the other day. Ashley, obviously, if you don't know who Ashley is, get up to date. Ashley's my best friend from childhood. We've been best friends since we were like 7 years old. But I was talking to Ashley about this because I'm like, when I look around at my community in New York, like most of the people that I am spending my time with are people that I became friends with after COVID, which is interesting. Obviously, I do have friends here that I've been friends with for much longer. My friends August and Kayla are two friends of mine from childhood who also live in New York. August and I have been friends since the 6th grade. Kayla and I have been friends since the 7th. But when I look around at everyone else, like my friend Jordan, who I met in 2021, I was working at Hero Cosmetics at the time, and I was working a sunscreen truck, and Jordan walked up to me on the street, told me she watched my videos, and we just got to talk, and the rest is kind of fucking history. My friend Meg, who I met in 2023, Meg invited me to be a guest on her podcast. I said yes. The rest is fucking history. My friend Robbie, met him in the same way. He invited me to be a guest over on his podcast. I think that was also 2023. Rest is fucking history. My friend Macy, who I met not too long ago. We hung out for the first time this year, but I met her through trivia. We played trivia at the same bar, ran into each other often enough, and then we started hanging out. So yeah, I've made lots of friends as an adult. I feel like that that Girl Scouts jingle is one that really stuck with me, I guess. Make new friends and keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend. I do feel like that stuck with me on some level because I have a lot of friends who I have known for my whole life, and then I also have sort of friends from every era that has followed. If I just like went through my friend list, they all have sort of random stories like that where it's like, oh yeah, I met this person in 2018 doing this, and then I met this person in 2021 doing this, and it's just like all of these people who I've crossed paths with in life. Yeah, I take them with me. Make new friends, keep the old. I feel like I'm kind of in a constant state of making friends. And I'll be honest with you, I think that making YouTube videos has probably been the thing that has connected me with the most people throughout my whole life. My friend Destiny, we met over YouTube in 2010. She's cat sitting for me while I'm away in Greece. Like, my YouTube videos have always been like a major point of connection for me with people, whether it was befriending other YouTube creators or other YouTube lovers, or just generally being the connection point between me and other artistic people, other creative people. And I think that me being a like public facing person has made making friends easier the older that I've gotten. I know that this is like, okay, great, bitch, I can't relate. But I do think there's like an overall sentiment here that can be applied to anyone where like, yes, I am like a very public facing person on a public facing platform that has allowed me to meet so many people through this. But even before I had a following on here, this was still the thing that connected me to the most amount of people. And I think it's just because I'm a very open person. I'm an open book. I am down to be friends with anyone. And I think I'm also probably extremely approachable because of how open I am. I think in general, it's this kind of openness and this like clear receptivity to closeness and community that has been what has helped me in acquiring more friendships. Also, I'm a very involved friend. And what I mean by that is like, I'm very proactive when building new relationships with people. If I meet someone once in passing, I will still probably reach out to them and try to make plans with them. I'm generally not someone who gets nervous about making new friends. This is a gift of mine that I have understood more and more the older that I've gotten. But like, I have met people at a party in passing, and I will be in their Instagram DMs like, you are so cool. I loved your vibe. Do you want to get dinner sometime? Like, I am not afraid to hit someone up for bestie hours. I love it. I love to make a new friend. I'm the first person when I meet someone new to be like, I have such a friend crush on you. You are awesome. I'm kind of loving the vibe we have going on here. We should do this again. Like, I am so eager to be open with my emotions and feelings about the people that I'm meeting and becoming friends with. And I'm also really proactive about actually putting in time to build that relationship. I'm not someone who gets like embarrassed or worried if someone is gonna think I'm too eager or doesn't want to be my friend. I don't take it personally. Like, if someone doesn't get back to me or we don't end up making plans, I'm like, oh, they're too busy. That's okay. I'll see you later. Love your vibes from afar though. Like, I won't. I just feel like friendship is something that is so aggressively abundant. It is everywhere. It is all around you all the time. All it takes is a little bit of openness and proactivity and emphasis on being proactive and like actually doing the reaching out, making the plans, setting something up. It can be vulnerable, but I think that that's maybe the part that some people miss out on. because maybe you meet someone at a party that you thought was really awesome, really cool. You follow each other on Instagram and you just stay that way forever. You never actually meet up. You never actually hang out. You just remain Instagram mutuals for life because you're afraid to reach out and make plans. And I think you'd be pleasantly surprised what might happen when you do try to reach out and make plans with these people you meet in passing. I have met so many people because of like one fleeting passing moment, but you just pour into it past that one moment. I can't tell you how many people I've met because of something fucking random. We're at the same place at the same time. We could have just passed and never reconnected past that point, but what if we became friends? What if we were more than Instagram mutuals? What if? And then as far as like knowing when it's time to let friends go, this is a harder one. Harder in the sense that I don't think that clarity necessarily makes this easier. I think that I've gone through friendship breakups, sort of moving on, growing apart from people I used to be close with, that I felt really clear on. I felt a lot of clarity with the fact that we shouldn't be friends or that our time had sort of run its course, but that didn't make the follow through of ending that friendship any less painful. And I hate to hit you with a like, when you know, but I feel like you usually do. Sometimes you just feel yourself slowly becoming more and more different from someone in your life. And you're spending less time with each other, you're talking to each other less. And I do think that sometimes friendships go through that and there can be like an ebb and flow naturally. And maybe during one season of your life, you're really close with this person and then you fall out of touch a little bit, but then you come back again. Like it's going to be different for all kinds of people and all kinds of friendships, but there is a different feeling when you know it's like, oh, we're not going to come back in season. We're growing like so far apart that I don't see a time where we would overlap again. And I think for me, it's just been a whole lot of following my heart and identifying when it is that I stop feeling comfortable in someone's presence and I start feeling anxious around them instead. When I hang out with my close friends, it feels like an exhale. Like I am safe to be myself and to relax, to open up. Like I can be truly and honestly me and I will be received well. Like they are my like safe landing place. And I think the one thing that's been in common with all of my friend breakups has been that part of it changed for me towards the end, where our friendship was not only something where like, oh, maybe we have less in common, maybe we're going on different life paths and we're like, drifting away from each other. That's one thing. But to start feeling like you can't be yourself around someone, or you feel less relaxed in their presence, you feel a little bit more anxious, that to me is like the telltale sign of when I am ready to let go of a friendship. I feel like sometimes you just got to pay attention to your nervous system when you're around someone and how they actually make you feel in your body. It's not easy. Even if you have the clarity on that, it doesn't make it easy, but I think that's been something that's been routinely true whenever I've felt like it was time to close the chapter on a friendship. Thoughts on Sydney Sweeney and Sabrina Carpenter feminism discourse? Hot question over here. Here's the thing. I don't care. I feel like the conversation around feminism and sex is like, it's very cyclical, where it becomes like we get very pro-sex and then we get very anti-sex and it just goes in a clean circle. I think culturally right now we are deep in the anti-sex part of this cycle for so many reasons, right? Socially and politically, this is kind of like the least sexy time ever. When you have all these abortion bans, women literally being kept on life support, women who have died being kept on life support just to bring a pregnancy to fruition. When you're living in an era where there's a lot of anger and rage around sex and the treatment of women's bodies, politically, socially, culturally. So I get it. I get why people are not into it right now. However, do I think that it is a problem personally? No. Here's the thing. If Sydney Sweeney wants to scam horny men, fine. If Sydney Sweeney wants to sell this weird bathwater soap nonsense, I don't I actually don't care. I think we should be bleeding weird men dry. I think they should be broke. And like Sabrina Carpenter's album cover is super hot to anyone. I think to anyone with eyes, that's hot. Also, her whole album is songs full of her talking about how fucking dumb and idiotic men are. And so there is some kind of humor in that as well. And can we not hee hee and ha ha anymore in that contrast? And also, you're never gonna get me in the conversation of like, is being submissive in the bedroom a setback for feminism? You bitches are never gonna get me there. Okay, I think that is like such a reductive take. You're never gonna get me saying that as someone who does prefer to be submissive and also finds that to be incredibly liberating. I just think it's a more complicated topic than people are willing to actually dedicate their time to. And like, here's the thing. I get why people are not into the Sydney Sweeney thing or the marketing of Sabrina Carpenter's album right now because of so many other things. Again, it's the swing between pro-sex and anti-sex discourse as it pertains to feminism. Right now, we're deep in the anti-sex for a lot of good reason. These are two examples of things that I just think are neither here nor there, though. Like, I don't personally care. I don't think that everything has to be points of opinion or discourse. There are so many other more important things happening within the like pro and anti-sex feminism discourse circle. I don't think that Sydney Sweeney scamming gross dudes or Sabrina Carpenter serving, submissive on the cover of her album are the problems here. Also, in general, thinking about Sabrina Carpenter, like I'm into it. I'm into it. I think so many of my like favorite pop girls of the early 2000s, like it was all about the sex appeal of it all. And I kind of love that. As a woman, I kind of personally, I think it's fun and I like it. And I think that what Sabrina is doing is a lot of like turning it on its head. And I think it's fun. I think it's good marketing. I actually really like it. So yeah, that's my take. I get it. And also, I thought it was awesome. What advice do you have for content creators who feel like they have imposter syndrome? Stop allowing yourself to consume an endless scroll of feedback, whether it is feedback to content that you are creating or feedback in response to what somebody else is creating. I think this is kind of one of the worst parts about TikTok and Instagram and short form platforms that allow you to scroll through the comments while consuming a piece of content. And sort of split your attention there. I think we've become so fixated on the reaction, the audience perception, and like we're becoming way too aware of other people's opinions before we've even created something. And I think that it is actively working against every single creative person because now you can pretty much predict what someone might think or say in response to something that you've created because you can see so many reactions readily available to you online. Every TikTok you've watched in the last 6 months, you've probably scrolled through the comments and engaged in this kind of consumption and reaction to whatever it is that you're consuming from other people, not just from yourself. And I think this is something that solely deteriorates your confidence as a creator and also your confidence as a consumer to like consume something and have your own opinions without needing to verify if that is the right opinion or the majority opinion to just like have your own reaction based on your own set of what you think is creative, what you think is cool, what you think is awesome. Like you don't have to be told this is awesome in order for you to think it's awesome. I think consuming so much feedback is actually really detrimental to our creative selves. And to any person who wants to be a content creator and is dealing with imposter syndrome, I am telling you, I think that's probably a large part of why it feels so prevalent to you. This fear of what people might say to you, this comparison to what they're saying to other people. Just know that the nasty comments that you read online, the ones that are deeply reductive and impulsive, and you may read them and be like, what the fuck? And meanwhile, they have like 25,000 hearts on TikTok. Know that the people who write comments like that are not creative people. Not to hit you with like some Britney Spears quotes right now, but there's only two kinds of people in the world. So stop getting so fixated on the opinions from people who are not the ones who entertain, but the ones who observe. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions and a lot of words and a lot of critiques for the people who are actually putting themselves out there to entertain, to create something, to put themselves in the seat to be criticized and consumed. People who don't do that are going to have a lot of opinions, and you just have to sort of shut it all down. Sit with yourself. Be alone with you. Trust your gut. Trust your perspective. Follow your own creative inspirations. Don't let other people's thoughts and opinions psych you out. You just sort of have to find ways to shut it all off. And also, don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking there's only one kind of success, or that you don't actually get to be proud of what you're creating unless you hit a certain marker. You can be proud of it the second that you complete it. Because to actually put yourself out there and create something is the hard part, and that's the thing that so many people won't ever do because they don't have the courage to do it. If you have the courage to create something and put it out there, I think that you should feel proud of that no matter what. You are a success story. Point blank, period. Okay. I feel like I've been procrastinating for enough. As much as I would love to just sit here and continue chatting it up with you guys, I do have to pack for a big trip to Greece. So I'm going to go do that. But thanks so much for hanging out with me, you guys. If you want to see more of me, I do have a Patreon where I post a ton of bonus content. And also I have a podcast, Emotionally Online, where I sit and yap on this mic once a week. So come hang out with us there. And regardless, I will see you guys in my next video. Love ya.